Deploying with Vercel is so easy. I think I must have said this a million times now. Here we go. You can see I've deployed a project called Course Pilot. It's available at coursepilot.co, which compares coding bootcamps. Feel free to check it out if of interest. I'll add the link below. But to add a new project, we just click on this button here, select project. We want to import this Next.js version of the project, so you select whatever name you have given your project. And you can see that this is connected to my GitHub account, and it shows all of the repos that I have in my GitHub. If you're planning on deploying several projects, I think it's easy to just have Vercel access all of the repos in your GitHub. If the project that you're working on is the only one that you want to deploy via Vercel, obviously when you first connect your GitHub account to it, you just select only this project. You can also change this in your settings later on as well. So next step in Vercel, you can change the project name here if you want to. Add all of your environment variables from your .env file here, and then everything else should just be the default settings unless you're working on very specific projects. So generally speaking, you just click on deploy, and that is it. Can you believe it? If you get build error from Vercel relating to the wrong quotation marks being used, you can use the suggested quotation marks that it gives you, or you can add rules to the lint.json file to ignore this. This is basically a typography issue and hinges on the idea of using the right quotation mark, which originates from typewriter days. It's deciding whether you use curly quotation marks or not. A part of me thinks it's quite old-fashioned, so I'm quite lax with it, and I add the rules to ignore this warning. But I know some developers are very insistent on using the correct punctuation. And if it's your own personal project, you can choose either getting into the habit of using the correct quotation marks or choose to ignore it. I'll find some good articles on this, and you can make a more informed decision. So deployment is usually very quick, depending on the size of your project. So any of these smaller projects can be done in less than a minute. I have already linked it to the domain, so it's live and ready to be used. And in fact, by this point, certainly it has been used. So check it out. There have been some updates to it, but the core features are the same. Now you know how React translates into Next.js. And the next time you start a new project, you can start Next.js from scratch. I connected the domain, but when you deploy, the project is hosted on Vercel's domain. So it would still be live, and it will be great for your portfolio because people can then see it and use it. So highly recommend Next.js, especially if you're thinking of deploying. I could talk about Next.js for days, so I'll stop now. See you next time.